Welcome back. You're watching the India Development Debate this Friday evening with me, Nayantara, in New Delhi. It was 6 days ago that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, as part of her union budget speech, one of the longest in Indian history, talked about a new electronic policy. We at ET now are getting you some exclusive details as far as this policy goes. A scheme aimed at giving a thrust to domestic manufacturing of large-scale electronics. We're going to get the graphics pointers for you on your screens, where you will see that the government is targeting to have over additional 2 lakh jobs, see a big impetus on exports as well. And of course, it'll have a multiplier impact on the country. It's an incentive scheme of maybe 6 to 8%. That's the kind of range that we're talking about. The scheme can it'll cost around 42,000 crore rupees. It'll cost the government a revenue of about 3,700 crore rupees, and it's looking at direct tax collections of almost 5,000 crore rupees from this. What's on the charts? Well, mobiles with invoice value of over $200. You've got domestic mobiles as well as specific electronic components that are all going to be targeted as per this scheme. But let's talk in layman terms. You're going to have an electronic policy, a smart, a large-scale electronic policy looking to give an impetus to manufacturing. What is this going to mean for the Apples, the Samsungs, the Xiaomis of this world? It's a conversation I'm going to take forward now with Pankaj Mohindroo, who is joining us this Friday evening right here on the India Development Debate. Good evening, Mr. Mohindroo. You understand this space so very well. You engage with the government. In fact, you were part of a delegation that also met with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently. And I'm guessing that the new electronic policy was on top of the agenda. When we talk about electronics and this policy that is coming out, a lion's share of it seems to be what the government is hoping to get and provide an impetus to will be phones which have an invoice value of more than $200. They're going to get a lion's share of this 42,000 crore rupees being planned over 5 years, almost 80%. Is that a good idea?
Yes, I'll give you a little background. You see, from 2015 to 2019, the mobile phone manufacturing has grown about 900%. And we have saturated the domestic market. We are almost producing our entire mobile capacity, domestic consumption now, domestically. So in October 2018, the Prime Minister made an audacious statement, I should say, that India will be #1 in mobile manufacturing globally. So in the NPE, which is National Policy on Electronics 2019, a target of 190 billion US dollars, which was set, which approximately will be about 14 lakh crores at that time. So an increase of 7 times, so 700% from the current 2 lakh crores, which is a growth of about 10 times over the last 4 years, and another 7 times growth. So this kind of value is only possible if you go for the the North American markets, the Western European markets. I'm sure you understand that the Chinese market will probably be not open to us till that time. So this 190 billion, which is 110 billion of export, about 8 lakh crore of export, is only possible with a target on the higher end phones, so to say, which has the lion's share of the global value market. But it is not that we are in the policy, draft policy, ignoring the domestic, the entry-level possibility of domestic Indian companies going global, which will be very large volumes, and to the Asian continent and the African continent largely, also to other continents. So this is another focus area. So $190 billion we feel can be achieved like this, in this manner. If you go back a little, you'll remember that there was a disability study conducted by us, which spelled out how our disabilities of our infrastructure and other things compare with China and Vietnam. And we feel with the significant improvements in infrastructure, which are happening, a part of this disability will be taken care of. For example, power cost will become better, power will become better, but some of them will still remain.
Yeah.
So this is an attempt to bridge those disabilities. So it's a fantastic idea, and
I take your point. That this idea is to
also
bridge.
keeping
I
in
take your
mind
point, Mr.
that
Mohindroo. The idea is to
the
bridge the disabilities. If I could interrupt you there. If I could interrupt you there, I take your point that is to bridge the disabilities. It was also recently that India lost its case at the WTO. It needs to be WTO compliant when it comes to incentivizing manufacturing linked to exports. And which is why you're now seeing the government perhaps looking to dish out incentives based on production, large-scale production. What I want to ask you, Mr. Mohindroo, is, and this is source-based information that we've picked up here at ET now, that when you look at the new electronic policy, which is going to give the maximum thrust to mobiles that cost more than $200, there will be perhaps only 5 beneficiaries. The total incentive over 5 years will be 35,000 crores, which will mean about 84% of the expected share of the total incentive. Does this make sense? And what does this mean for the layman who's in the market for an iPhone or a Galaxy or a Xiaomi or a OnePlus?
No, Nayantara, India has always been WTO compliant. And the case which you are talking about, we are going to fight that case in the WTO appellate. And I think India has a stellar record of being extremely compliant with global treaties and global agreements. So, I mean, are you hinting that or suggesting that this policy is to circumvent the WTO? No, it is not. It is a genuine attempt to achieve global leadership and serve the domestic market by improving our competitiveness. So let's put this aside. Now, look at the market, the global market. The global market has consolidated. About 83 to 85% of the global value is essentially with a few companies. So obviously, we will not be able to create, the global market in a way that we want to, visualize or fantasize or imagine. The global market, the players are as they are. So we have to, and it is a very easy thing for India that you don't have to build these export markets. These export markets already exist. And if we become more competitive and we are able to provide sweeteners, this manufacturing could perhaps move from China and Vietnam to India. Or probably, what is moving out of China will move to India instead of to Vietnam and other countries. But look at the focus on domestic Indian champion companies.
If I could come in on that point, Mr. Mohindroo,
very strong.
We actually talk when we talk about personal finance, for example, we talk about hedging our portfolios, right? You shouldn't have too much exposure to only real estate or to bonds or to equities or to gold. You may find me insensitive when I say this, but in the last couple of days, with the outbreak of the coronavirus, it has come home, and people have realized that perhaps there is too much emphasis and too much exposure to China. And now more than ever, while I'm not saying this is the intention, now more than ever, India must make a pitch to take some of these factories away from China. I'm sure a lot of the global giants will be wanting to reduce their exposure, not just because of the trade war, but because of what's happening right now because of the coronavirus. My simple question to you is that at a time when we are increasing import duties, talking about Make in India, how crucial will this particular policy be to make sure we get the Foxcons, we get all the other global factories, Samsung expands, LG expands, all of that happens?
No, we are, Nayantara, let's not look at it like that. We are extremely pained by the trouble our neighbor is going through, and with such a large presence of the Chinese components and companies here, our heart goes out to them, and we pray that everything gets fine and China comes back to normal. And creating competitiveness is something very long term. it cannot be because of one incident or something which has happened. Manufacturing does not shift like that. Manufacturing shifts when people appreciate and understand that India is in for the long haul and it is extremely serious. The grand persona of the Honorable Prime Minister, of course, backs this very aggressively. So there is a lot of belief and conviction in global companies that the leadership will make it happen. But we have to walk the talk. And the state governments, the central government, it's not only the package, it's a whole 360 of various things which have to be put together. So let us look at it like that. And you see, it's not only China we are competing with Vietnam, we are competing with Indonesia, and it's a battle of the nations, which cannot be won by just an incident happening somewhere, which we should feel happy about. We are extremely pained about it, actually.
Say that. I said right now, the realization has come,
Hello?
starting with the trade war, like how we all hedge our portfolios, we need to hedge our manufacturing facilities as well. So my next question to you is that when we've been seeing Narendra Modi and his top team travel the world, making a pitch for Make in India, ease of doing business, how crucial is this policy really going to be? Because what India also needs to become a $5 trillion economy is to not just be an assembly line.
No, you see, there are two pillars to this. One is the $110 billion export aspiration, and the other is the $80 billion domestic market. Now, the domestic market we are projecting that the domestic market will go up from 2 lakh crores to about 6 lakh crores. This is a 3 times growth in 5 years. Now, this usually doesn't happen. This is approximately, we'll be consuming 1.6% of the GDP of the country if we are able to consume $80 billion worth of smartphones. Now, our hypothesis is that it is because we'll consume so many smartphones and we'll have smart networks and the digital economy will flourish very profoundly, that India will generate $5 trillion of GDP. It's not because the GDP will be $5 trillion, you will consume so much. I hope, this is very clear that the 5G networks, the robust digital infrastructure, and a very aggressive pricing and great feature-rich local languages assisted smartphones is what will drive the digital infrastructure. So these are two, it's a double-barreled situation that we will be going in with these two strategies. So it's not only that, this incentive package will be able to promote exports and promote the manufacturing industry. A whole lot of other factors will have to come in.
And that is going to be, of course, a holistic policy that we will see, and also the contribution by the private sector to ensure just that competitiveness in being a manufacturing hub, creating employment, earning foreign exchange too. With that, Mr. Mohindroo, thank you so much for taking the time out this Friday and joining us here live on this edition of the India Development Debate.